Hey, Tom Rule here from the Outhouse Studio again, tomrule.info, tomrule.bandcamp.com, and I got a story for you. I was grad assistant for Carolina Live, University of South Carolina, back in 84 to 86. And one of the things Carolina did at the time, I presume they still are, is giving out honorary doctorates. And they had some big names happening. But the story I want to tell you today, Fred Rogers and Johnny Costa. Fred Rogers, yes, the Mr. Rogers. Johnny Costa was his music director. And it was tradition. We had Carolina Live, which was the jazz show choir, and then the concert choir, I can't remember what they were called, sorry. And they would have a noontime lunch for one of the honorees, and then an evening dinner. And the two performing groups would swap out year to year. So one year, I got to meet Fred Rogers and Johnny Costa, and we did the theme from It's a Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood. And Fred told a bunch of stories at the luncheon. It was great to meet him. What was fun for me is I got to meet Johnny Costa because he came over. We had the band there, a couple, 3 horn players, bass, drums, and then me on piano. He came over and said, "Where'd you get that arrangement?" I said, "Well, I had to come up with it. The only copy I could get, I'd gone to a music store down in 5 Points in Columbia, and the only copy they had was the Big Note Easy version. So I bought it, and had to figure out what the chords were, and it came up with the horn parts and all that kind of stuff. That was my job as grad assistant. So he came over and was very, very highly complimentary of the job that we had done. And so we chatted for a minute, and I said, how did you get this gig? And I will never forget what he told me. He was young. He had a daughter about to go to college, one that was a couple of years from college, and he was a professional gigging musician up in the Northeast. And he said, "I needed the money." Fred came calling and said, "I only have this much money," and it wasn't a whole lot, but he said it was enough to help. So he took the gig, and 20-some years later, he was still doing the gig. If you get a chance to watch it, listen to the music. It's absolutely amazing. The whole series, anything that Johnny Costa was doing, the jazz that was underneath, and how tasteful it was, and just done. It was amazing. So that's one story. The other one, the other year, I got to hear Alex Haley, Roots. And he got up and he spoke for, I guess, about 45 minutes to an hour, and the place was absolutely still, talking about where the idea for Roots came from. He was, deep south, summer, no air conditioning. So after dinner, all of his aunts went out on the porch, and as I recall, he said, spitting tobacco out into the bushes. And he was just a young tyke listening to these stories that they were telling, family stories going back into the slave days and all that. And that's where the idea for Roots came from. Absolutely spellbinding. So it was just an interesting part of my time there at USC, getting to meet those guys and who had done some famous, absolutely phenomenal stuff, and get to hear some of their journey. So hope you enjoyed the story. Stay tuned on this channel. You just never know what you're going to get. tomrule.info. Sayonara. See you next time.